the definition of marriage is not going to be in the Constitution. That's not the intention. The risk is that the current definition of marriage in the Women's Charter can be challenged on the basis that it's in breach of Article 12 of the Constitution. So what we are planning to do is to put it in the Constitution explicitly that Parliament can define the institution of marriage and, in the way it has defined in the Women's Charter, and it can make other pro-family policies on the basis of that definition, that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that these laws and policies which rely on the definition of marriage cannot be challenged in court by reference to Article 12, or by reference to the Constitution. So this means the definition of marriage in the Women's Charter, it will make it difficult to challenge that definition on the basis that it's unconstitutional. It will have to be dealt with in Parliament. So if a party, group of people want to allow same-sex marriage, they will have to put that in their manifesto, fight elections, win the elections, get a majority, and then change the definition of marriage. I, the Attorney General, both advised him that there is a significant risk of Section 377A being struck down in a future challenge on the basis that it breaches the equal protection provision in the Constitution. If, however, Parliament doesn't act either because of fear or because of a lack of will, and therefore doesn't deal with a law which may be in breach of the Constitution, then the legislature, that's the Parliament, is not doing its job. Then you make it difficult for the courts to exercise restraint. Mind you, the legal risk is not only to Section 377A. After that, the definition of marriage itself can be challenged. And it will not just be marriage. Many of our laws and policies built on the current definition of marriage, public housing, education, media, what can be shown free to air, many others, all of this could be challenged. So we decided the government must take responsibility and act now. If you approach this issue simply and purely as a politician concerned about votes only, then you take this course. Try and avoid doing anything, just pretend that it doesn't exist, leave it to the courts. But if you ask yourselves, what is the right thing to do regardless of political cost? Two things. Right thing to do is, one, decriminalize gay sex amongst men, and at the same time, two, protect the family, protect the current definition, the marriage is between a man and a woman, protect our education, housing, and social policies. However, if we just kept quiet, put on, as I said, put on the helmet, go into the bunker and pretend that nothing is happening, leave it to the courts, and if the courts did strike out Section 377A, we can come out and say, well, the courts did it, not us. It's going to make people unhappy when they believe that a different course of action is the right course of action. We have all gone out there, gotten feedback, explained our thinking, explained our position, and I take the concerns very seriously. First, concern is whether there will be a shift in our laws on marriage and the laws on policies that are centered on marriage, like family formation, education, and so on. Two, freedom of religion. Now, three, pressure. They are worried that there will be pressure to accept and conform to LGBTQ plus ideology in schools and workplaces. And fourth, they are worried about cancel culture, that they will not have the freedom to express their views on sex, gender, marriage, and family without being silenced. So on the first point, our policies on marriage, other related policies centered on marriage, I've said housing, education, social policies, they are not going to change. In fact, we are going further. We are going to protect these policies from a legal challenge by amending the Constitution. On the second issue, freedom of religion, the Constitution guarantees full protection for freedom of religion. That's absolutely safeguarded, and it's a cornerstone of article of faith for us. Then, if you look at the Maintenance of Religious Harmony Act, I call it MRHA, it sets out clearly that people should not be targeted on the basis of religion. It of course applies both ways. If a religious group or member is attacked by a non-religious group, such as an LGBT group, action can be taken and will be taken. Likewise, action can be taken under the MRHA if a religious group using religion attacks a non-religious group such as LGBT groups. So the third issue, pressure in workplaces and schools. Workplaces should be part of the secular space shared by all Singaporeans. Employees should not be discriminated against at work just because they hold traditional family values or pro-LGBT values. So MOM, Ministry of Manpower, is looking at this issue, including protecting employees from being penalized or discriminated against, in many respects. It is also looking at processes to protect those who report about workplace discrimination or harassment so that people can feel safe about coming forward. On education, schools should be safe spaces for all students. So education policies, including sexuality education curriculum, will remain unchanged. The fourth issue, cancel culture. In the feedback we have received, many are worried about being cancelled. And I take that very seriously. My ministry, the Ministry of Law, has been looking at measures to deal with the harm caused by cancel campaigns. People ought to be free to express their views without fearing being attacked on both sides. We should not allow a culture where people of religion are ostracized, attacked for espousing their views or their disagreements with LGBT viewpoints, and vice versa, whether pro or anti-LGBT.